And welcome to the Lawrence Ordinance Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. Voting members that are present so far this evening are to my left, Councilor Federlini Santiago, and to my right, Councilor Gregory Del Rosario. Pardon me? Oh, and online with us is Council Vice Chair Selena Reyes. Welcome, Councilor Reyes. Councilor Reyes, can you hear us?
Thank you. Yes.
Sweet. All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, so everything, because Councilor's here, we're going to do everything by roll call vote this evening, so just so you're aware.
Yes.
Good. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting of the Ordinance Committee is being conducted both in person and via remote participation. A reminder that people who would like to listen or view this meeting while in progress may attend here in person or join us at the Facebook Lawrence City Council page and the YouTube Lawrence City Council page. And with that, I will ask you all to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, councilors. So we have in our audience this evening, we have city officials who've got something that I think is going to take a little bit longer, and we have National Grid with something I don't think is going to take long at all. So if there's no objection, we're just going to take the National Grid because I think it's going to be fairly quick. Where's my notes? Did someone take my notes? Nope, I got them. So if there's no objection, I'd like to take document number 49924, which is the installation of one JO pole on Canal Street near Union Street, out of order. Is there any objection? No. See no objection. Your name, sir, and address, please.
Vasna Ang, 1101 Turnpike Street, North Andover, Mass. Represent National.
Your name one more time, because I think, did you get the name?
Vasna Ang.
Okay. How do you spell that?
V-E-A-S-N-A.
V-E-A-S-N-A?
V-E-A-S-N-A.
V-E-A-S-N-A. How do you pronounce that? I've never heard the name before.
Vasna.
Vasna.
Vasna. Vasna.
Vasna.
Yep.
Sweet, thank you. Welcome, sir. Okay, so go ahead, 49924, you have the floor.
So, for the petition, we're requesting to put a JO pole at roughly around 162 feet from the center line of Canal and Union Street. But to my attention, the designer of this petition said that there's already a pole that's already there. So instead of the pole being placed at 162 feet, we would like a pole to be placed at 180 feet instead. And if you need a new petition sketch, we are willing to accommodate that.
So I think for our records, I think just to be precise, so if somebody says, what did we approve? If we have the actual documents as precise as amended as you just mentioned,
yes,
that would be highly preferable.
Okay.
At least to me, and I would suggest perhaps the whole committee. So the answer is yes, if you could do that.
Yep.
How long will it take to get something like that?
Probably, they can probably just re-sketch it in about a day or two, not long.
So we certainly could, we certainly can send this up to the full council pending that, as long as we get the information and, yeah. So if you can get that to us,
yep,
that would be helpful. If we have it, we'll probably vote in favor of it. If we don't have it,
yep,
I don't know how councils are going to vote.
Okay, no problem.
Any questions? Yeah.
This is you,
Yeah.
Chair. This is a new pole, a brand new pole.
Yes, this pole that's supposed to be for this petition, instead of 162 feet, we're gonna need to be at least 180 feet because there was already a pole actually there at the location that we would like to put it.
I asked the question because lately we've been having complaints of they put poles and they just leave it like that and they don't remove what needs to be on the pole, or they leave it
right. That's
also stuff dropping on the floor, lights and stuff, and we have to pay for it. And we need to prevent, or we need to stop those things to happening. So in the last installations, I guess city lights that goes on the pole or something like that, that had been dropping, and we are the one picking it up and fixing it. because they posted, things break or they don't change stuff, and we end up finalizing the job for you guys.
Right. Unfortunately, I don't know anything of that, but I do know that if there's double poles out in the same location, we install them, and Telco is supposed to remove them. So we install, they remove.
Did you make a motion? Is there,
Motion to send to the full council with a favorable recommendation pending the new sketch of with the information of the footage of the pole.
Second.
motion's been made and properly seconded. I need to, and discussion. So I need to read this into the record and for you. This is the city clerk sent me this email based on the conversation he had with the council president, which I invited him to either come to the meeting or to give me something written. So here's the written, so I'm gonna read this to you so you know this is at least one councilor's and maybe others' positions on this. Hello, Chairman LaPlante. As National Grid has several items at the Ordinance Committee, it is likely they will be in attendance at your meeting next week. In that regard, the council president is asking if you can please stress to the representatives of National Grid that after their work is done, they are supposed to leave the city in as good, if not better, condition than they found it. This relates to patching the ground and also the replacement of the light fixtures that were just mentioned. When they replace a pole, they are taking down the light fixture from the first pole and not installing a light fixture on the new pole. This is a new phenomenon that residents are noticing citywide. I'm including an email of a specific example of this in District E for your reference. So this is the city, this is not my district, none of our districts, but there's in Mount Vernon area, District E, the city clerk has put an example of a concern that she has spotted there to kind of illustrate the point. Right. So why don't I do this? I read what I was supposed to read. That's been done. Councilor Del Rosario made his comments, and I think there's starting to be some pent up frustration.
Yes.
With this, and not you specifically, but you and others have come before, and we've been very accommodating. We do understand that we're also helping the ratepayers who want the service. We get that as well. Yep. But we're trying to balance both providing the services to the people who live there as well as making sure the city has the poles, which are potential eyesores or maybe even to some degree unsafe, are taken care of. So we want to make sure that happens. So let me give this to you so you have a copy of this. And so we'll see you next week. But if you can work on improving whatever you can do and talk to your management team if you have to about the concerns that we as a council are facing or seeing, that would be great. Okay. I'll call the question now. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you. I'm sorry, Gary. We'll get that roll call vote. So, Council Santiago.
Yes.
Council Del Rosario.
Yes.
Council Vice Chair Reyes.
Yes.
Thank you. So that vote passes. Council Vice Chair Reyes, if you want to say something, just put your hand up, interrupt me if you need to, so I don't miss you. So if something comes up. Got it?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You got it. Okay. Stay right there. We're going to get rid of two others, and then we'll be finished with National Grid tonight. If there's no objection, the other two are real simple. Document number 524. I'm going to be looking for a motion to withdraw this item based on the recommendation from National Grid. This is install 2 JO poles on the North Canal Street near Amesbury Street. Is there a motion to withdraw?
Motion to withdraw.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Santiago, seconded by Councilor Del Rosario. Discussion. See no discussion. Roll call vote. Councilor Del Rosario.
Yes.
Councilor Santiago.
Yes.
Councilor Vice Chair Reyes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Pat, would you be willing to do the roll call vote instead of me? Okay. Excellent, thank you. It gives me a chance to let my voice rest. The next one, again, to be withdrawn. This is document 50124. If there's no objection, I'd like to take that one out. And that is installing underground electric conduits at North Canal Street. Looking for a motion to withdraw.
So move.
Motion made by Councilor Del Rosario, seconded by Vice Chair Reyes. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, roll call vote. Pat?
Councilor Del Rosario.
Yes.
Councilor Pucci.
Santiago.
Councilor Santiago.
Yes.
President Mark LaPlante.
You can call me Chair now. That would be yes, and don't forget our friend, yeah,
Yes.
there you go. Motion to withdraw is sent up, so those have to be withdrawn to the full council level. Let me give this to you. 2024. Okay. Sir, I think you're done. You can go home.
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
Nope,
All right,
I'll
I'm
get
good.
this to the right people. and
Thank you.
Make sure everything is taken care of.
Appreciate that, thank you. All right, council, we do have city employees here. I do suspect this is a little more intricate and involved. Their items, we'll start with the first one. It's on page 2 of your agenda. Mr. McCarthy, do you care which one goes first? Do you have a preference? We'll go in order. You want to do 429 first? If there's no objection, we're going to take document 42924 first. Is there any objection? I don't see any objections. All right, this is a new, so Council Vice Chair Reyes, this is a 42924. It's the new ordinance in compliance with the MGL 40A, 3A, which is allowing a multifamily as of right. And this is the, otherwise known as the MBTA Communities Act. Mr. McCarthy. And I see Director Pimentel. Are you with us, Director?
Good evening. Yes, I am.
Will you be speaking, do you wish to speak or participate in this matter or a different matter?
I'm just here to support our Director McCarthy, but I am available if there's any questions.
Excellent, we duly noted. So, Mr. McCarthy, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Daniel McCarthy from the Planning Department. The city having a train station in it has been identified as what they call the MBTA communities. So there's 2 tiers of communities. One of those that have an actual station or transportation hub within their boundaries, and other communities that are within 50 miles of such that. So the tier 1 communities are required to be in compliance with this act by the end of the calendar year 2024. So that's the end of December. The city is also working to create an overlay district under a grant. Now, that grant runs through the calendar year to the end of 2025, and we're going to be establishing that and creating a task force and moving forward with that over the next few months. But currently, we're in a predicament where we need to be in compliance with this statute by the end of this year. If you've been watching the television, you can see that the Attorney General's office today brought the city of Milton, or the town of Milton, before the court, and there was a hearing today on their refusal to comply with this. So the state is taking it very seriously, and I know our mayor and several of our department heads have met with the housing authority, with the housing director for the governor, and they urge us very strongly to consider doing this. So we've been working with Merrimack Valley Planning Commission to design a district, a short-term district, to be to meet the guidelines of the requirements. The MVPC representative is actually going to be at Housing Committee on Thursday evening. This matter was referred to 2 committees. I was preparing to attend the Housing Committee, and I found out last evening that we had this evening today. So instead of, unfortunately for this point, you don't get the live PowerPoint presentation, you get the paper copy, and you get me.
So a couple of things, Mr. McCarthy, before you get started. One is, I want my colleagues to know that there's a reason why sometimes at the full council meeting, I urge the council president to send it to 1 committee as opposed to 2. There's not only this, but many other issues that there's a redundancy. We're all going to get it eventually, and if we can, we should really try to streamline it to be more efficient and send it to 1 committee. The council president has every right to send it to every committee, if he really wants to, but there's a lot of duplication, and a lot of people have respect for other people's times, and it's been long days here. And as long as we get the information before we take the vote, that's the critical component. So I just want, this is the reason why I sometimes have those discussions at the meetings about this.
Well,
You want to say something on that?
yeah, I was gonna say, well, this is a change in the ordinance, so I believe it is rightfully in front of this board.
That is 100% correct, and it's unlike, it's not, it's a little more unusual to send it to a second committee, but this is the committee that, because it's an ordinance change, it should be going to, so we're right. The second thing is, do you have this electronically, because our vice chair is at home, and if you have it electronically, this packet, like now, can you zip that over? Did we get this before tonight?
I don't, I can
Okay.
do it later on tonight.
Okay, that would be preferable, only because we have a member that's not here, I want her to at least have the information.
Understood.
Okay. With that, you have the floor.
So the other documents you have before you is this document here, which is the law itself. And I'm gonna be going through this law as part of this discussion and the 4 points that must be met to be in compliance with the law, as it's stated here. The other document you have before you is, as in any ordinance change in the city, dealing with it must go to the Lawrence Planning Board for review. On October 2nd, the Lawrence Planning Board had a public hearing on this matter, and they saw the same presentation we'll be discussing, and they voted by 4-1 a vote in favor of adopting this. So this is just a review and a reference to the city council. It's not binding, but it is their opinion that this should be adopted. To get into the matter itself, there's, in the first couple pages, there's a discussion about the housing crisis. I don't know if I need to go into much detail to this board about the housing crisis in the state, except I think we're all aware of how serious it is. I would rather go to the next page where it says, what does section 3A require? What does the city need to meet? And what is this new ordinance gonna change? So first of all, it says that the community must have a zoning district of reasonable size that allows multifamily housing by right. The state has determined that the reasonable size for the city of Lawrence is 4,501 units of housing are permissible.
Where does it say, where does it say that? I don't see that on this page.
It's on this section, it says, what does,
You don't have pages on here. What does section 3A require? Do you see the numbers? Where's the number? What's the title say at the top? Yeah, there's no number on that sheet. What's the number? So I need to write it down. So that's important, so I want to make sure we have that. There's no number on that PowerPoint slide.
okay, all right.
So repeat that again with the number so we have context, please.
The 4,501 units of housing.
4,501 units of housing are required.
No.
No, continue then.
That a district has to be devised that will allow
Okay.
4,501 units to be built, to be permitted. We don't have to create them, we don't have to permit them, but it has to be allowable.
Allowable, so there has to be enough space so we can create that, or if somebody were to ask for it.
Right, so
Okay.
what we did was we
Units.
measured the square footage of the district that we identified, which is across the street from the train station.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that map later.
Okay,
The second point on that says the law requires the creation of a zoning district, not the construction of actual units.
got it.
All right, the law requires zoning to be in place. It does not matter what housing units already exist or will be built. All that matters is that by right zoning exists. The communities do not comply with this will lose access to a number of state grants. And these are grants that we regularly utilize. One of the biggest, most important ones are called MassWorks grants. We've used those to build streets. We've used those in the demolition of the Merrimack paper plant. We've used those in several areas in the city, so for the city's inability to have these grants would be important. All right, so the next page talks about MBTA compliance status. and community category, I already mentioned that first of all, that we're tier 1. I think the next important page is, to look at is this one here.
You would, just for the record,
I
know it's not your
I didn't
thing.
create this.
I know, if you had a number on here, it would be a lot easier for us
It
to
would be
find.
much easier.
Okay, so I got it.
So the one with the picture of a
Yep,
circle.
got it.
So, just for the record, this was created by Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, and I'll talk to them to see if we could put the numbers on here.
It's helpful, thank you.
No, no, on the page.
Pages.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we've got a lot of smart people on this committee. We'll figure it out, but let's not make it challenging. All right, go ahead.
So this talks about the dimensional requirements, it's got all the numbers in it that I mentioned earlier. And the most important ones must be within half a mile of what they call our transportation hub. The transportation hub for the city is identified as the MacGyver train station. So
What do you got?
I think the next important page to look at, it says, approach for Lawrence, so I think this will go much smoother when the slides are up on the screen, but,
I got good news and bad news. I don't think we have that slide. If you look again.
all right.
What's it
So-
called?
So again, this repeats what I told you earlier. The city was awarded.
Approach, well, second
The
last.
city was awarded a grant to create a TOD zoning district,
Okay.
which is transit-orientated design.
Yep.
And we're going to be working on that over the next year and coming back before you. But during the interim, the city had to, in fact, be in compliance with this. And we said, felt that the easiest way is to take the minimum square footage we need, which was 39 acres, adjacent to the train station, and identify that as the district. On the next page, if you turn it over, it's got a copy of the map in green where it's gonna go. And I know we've gotten a lot of feedback on this because 95% of that property belongs to the Riverwalk. And that, in fact, was fairly intentional. One, because it's next to the train station, but the second part is we don't expect the owner of that property to utilize this. Now, that sounds contradictory, that we're asking for a new district, but the transit zone we're gonna be designing is gonna be comprehensive. It's gonna be go down to from one end of Merrimack Street to the other. It's gonna go from the river to Market Street. And based upon advice I've gotten today, we're gonna look at other parts of the city to include this. But this district here is only identified, is just to meet the standards of this. The Riverwalk is permitted in what's called a planned unit development. So I don't expect that Mr. Lapoli will be utilizing this to do it. And the criteria to do this is like permit by right. There are no design guidelines, there's no criteria, there's no, none of that information is gonna go into this. We're just meeting the minimum standards until we can get the overlay district, TOD overlay district enforced in the next year. And at that point, we'll probably be eradicating this ordinance, having this withdrawn and having the new one come in place. But again, we do need to be in compliance with this regardless. I did go to the state housing authorities and asked them if there's any way, since we were doing this TOD, if we could get an extension, and we were told no. So that is the reason why we're here. This district will be in place for 6 to 9 months, and will be in compliance with the state requirements. At the end of those 6 to 9 months, when the overlay district has to go through public hearings and a well-thought planning design for this new district, we'll come back to you, have that one established, and we'll be withdrawing this one. So that is the plan.
I got lots of questions, so,
Yep.
and I have I'm on the housing committee as well, so I get 2 bites of the apple. I got to listen to this all over again in 2 nights. So, I'll start my first round today, and I'll have more questions on Thursdays probably. So you said 4501 is the number of units that we're gonna need to get in the area that's in green on one of these pages, correct?
Yes.
Okay. How many units do we have there now, and does that count?
They do not count, but they do count towards it. So theoretically, the state takes the position that there's a building there with 400 units in it, that Mr. Lapoli could decide, I'm gonna tear that building down and build more units there, using this model instead. He can do that. Would he do that? No. But it's possible. Ian Burns, who works for Merrimack Valley Planning in their housing department, he did the numbers and the calculations to come up with this district, using the square footage and the zoning requirements as stated by the city. So this is the minimum size that we could do to meet the standards.
All right, so I'm just looking for a simple answer to the question. Help me, please. The bogey, the target number is 4501.
Yep.
That's correct? Okay, so when all is said and done, based on the calculations that MVPC has put together in conjunction with your office, that's the number. So do we already count toward that number the units that are existing at this point?
No. So the units have to meet certain standards. I have already gone to the state and argued that the city was fully in compliance with this because we have a downtown overlay district. I believe the overlay district satisfies the MBTA communities. They disagreed, and we came up with a grant, this idea of doing this.
Can you tell me how many units are already existing in that area that we're looking to put the overlay on?
On the parcel, on the north side of the river.
Just that one, the one that you're looking at, the target, yeah?
There's 420 units.
We have currently 420 units in this section right here, that's all green, 420. And there seems to be a difference of opinion on whether or not that 420 gets us to the 4,501. Your interpretation is that doesn't count. We gotta get additional 4501. That's what I'm hearing from you, Mr. McCarthy. So that's what I'm hearing. Give me that number again. 402, you said? How many? 420, thank you. Write that down. So 420 units. So it didn't make a difference how many, according to you, it doesn't make a difference how many units we got there now. We got to get a 4501. And it looks like there are several bites I'm talking about process now, bites of the apple. We as a council, at the full council, will have a chance to vote up or down on this. If we vote it up, it then goes, you got into the weeds there, you lost me for a little bit, but what I understand is that there's going to be X number of months, there's public hearing process, there's months that take place, and then we're gonna have to have another vote after the public hearings for a final vote. And that's kind of what I got out of what you said. Am I accurate or inaccurate? Correct me if I'm wrong.
So the vote we hope to take before the end of December will be just to establish this district.
Okay.
Then we're gonna be beginning the process of doing the overlay.
Yep.
So, and that will be during the calendar year 2025.
We'll be only having, this council will only have one vote, and that's gonna be prior to January 1st of next year. This calendar year. Is that right?
Yes.
One vote. So we're voting up or down on this overlay.
I'm the MBTA community, Frank Cirillo, Economic Development Director, City of Lawrence. So the answer to your question right now is yes. You'll be voting on the MBTA communities before December to make this effective for us to meet the law requirement.
Okay.
What Director McCarthy is talking about is the overlay district, which will be an extension moving forward to override some of the zoning requirements that we have to put in place for right now. So our person who did this has been doing MBTA communities throughout the Merrimack Valley and going through all the boards and everything. So one of the things was even I wasn't aware about this meeting. I knew about Thursday, and we're bringing him in on Thursday. So that's one of the things. So right now, what we're trying to do is to meet our law requirements before December 31st, to make sure that we're in compliance with the state law.
So where I'm getting a little confused, I'm getting it, I got it pretty close, but I'm not completely there. So what I get here is that we're gonna have a vote on this MBTA Communities Act, and we're gonna be voting on that. But that's not gonna be enough. We're gonna have to take a second vote for something else that deals with zoning in this area. That's what I'm hearing, am I?
For more than just this area, to extend it to other parts of the city. So that's
Okay,
further down the line.
but it has nothing to do specifically with this.
Correct.
Are they
That'll be eventually,
Okay.
before you, but we're putting the cart before the horse because this is what we.
So let's not even talk about the other, I mean, it's good to know that there's
That'll
a
be
plan,
coming-
but,
Eventually be coming before you.
Okay.
So, I mean, we already did one overlay on the Merrimack Street.
Yeah.
Which was voted on by the council. So we're looking to do additional requirements to make sure that other parts of the city are
Okay.
also covered. But that's gonna be a little bit further down the line.
so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask one more series of questions, and I'm going to be quiet, because I have my colleagues here, and I want them to be able to ask questions or make comments. We talked about in this law that you provided for us that I'm not sure what, I guess the carrot and the stick is the same thing. The carrot is we get money, the stick is we don't get money. So, from these grants, and you specifically mentioned Mass Works, and in the law, it goes beyond the Mass Works, it talks about several other places, such as Local Capital Projects Fund, Housing Choice Initiative, Housing Works Infrastructure Program, so it talks about some other stuff. I just think we need to know, or at least I need to know, how much money, generally speaking, annually, do we get from these grants? I want to know what we're talking about. What are we risking with a vote, hypothetically a no vote?
The last two grants that I managed, that were dealt with in the Mass Works grants, I believe there was about $600,000 that we used to reconstruct Island Street. And then there was another, I think almost $5 million that went into improvements along Merrimack Street. And we used, including the Merrimack paper demolition. And that was identified as the Riverwalk project.
Is that just a one-time shot? So the point here is that if you are supporting this project, you would make the argument, we can't afford to not put this forward. There's too much money on the line, and we're jeopardizing potential grants in the future if we don't pass this, would be the argument someone would make. And the examples are $600,000 from Mass Works that dealt with, which you just mentioned, which I think dealt with maybe a Canal Street, which were part housing and part other things, multi-use. And then the $5 million, which I'm very familiar with, along Merrimack Street, which did a lot of work with the roads and the sidewalks and the power lines that go through that, and the lights and the speed bumps and all the other stuff that's there. And that's $5 million, and that was pretty significant, right? And we would, if there's another project, we would potentially not be able to access money from that pot if whatever that place is, who knows where that would be. That would be the proponents'
Right now,
argument.
I believe we're supporting a grant from the Mass Works grant on Broadway and Arlington Street, that area.
Okay.
So that one is, so we are actively seeking this money.
And that would be in jeopardy if we were to not support
That's
this
correct.
thing. So this
That's
project,
correct.
okay, and do you have anything else, just because let's be realistic, is there anything else in the pipeline that's, I don't want pie in the sky, we're thinking about doing this, what's in play that's jeopardized if we don't vote for it?
That's the only, off the top of my head, that's the only.
How much was that worth?
Several $100,000.
And that's on Broadway, North Broadway?
That is to improve the entranceways and the structures around the overlay district up in, near the Methuen line.
Okay.
That's the Arlington Mills overlay district.
That's a
So-
good shorthand, Arlington Mills District overlay or something like that for several $1,000,
So
like
$100,000.
100,000-ish? Okay,
Lawrence Community Works is the main applicant for that.
okay. As promised, I'm gonna be quiet. Any other colleagues want to say anything on this matter?
Yes.
Councilor Santiago.
When I see the number about the unit, will be the construction, do you think about hospital? Because will be much people than we have it right now, and the emergency at the hospital are very busy when we are, if we are going to the hospital. If we have more people in the city, what plan do you have for the hospital as well?
Well, we know direct plans for the hospital as it is. I was glad to see that the Holy Family and hospitals in Methuen and Naval have come under the control of the Lawrence General Hospital. So they're increasing the capacity of the Lawrence General Hospital to serve more people, so that we do get overflows. I don't know if you've been to the Lawrence General recently, but it gets extremely crowded on weekends and it's very busy. They've been able to transfer some of that overflow to the other hospitals in the community. So that would probably be, now that they are no longer in the Stewart family, they are now going to be part of the Lawrence General group. So that will take care of some of the volume of that.
Construction is good, but we have to make a plan for that one, because if we have found a solution for the problem that we have, but if we found another problem to solve the first one, I think it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
You all set? Councilor Rosario?
Thank you, through you, Chair. The only thing that I don't like is when we are put in a position to rush. I've been waiting for an overlay at the Arlington neighborhood for 2 years. And we don't know how long it's going to take to happen, but we're pushing this one. And we're going to get it done by January. And it's been 2 years, McCarthy. And every time that we come here with a project, it's a deadline to me. But the Arlington neighborhood doesn't have a deadline. And I said it publicly, I'm going to say it here for the record. They don't want it. They don't want to do the Arlington project due to the fact that the Arlington project is the way to bring negative grants to the city, due to the drug addicts, due to the homeless, due to the needles. So they don't want that area there to go up. And you guys haven't done nothing to do that overlay, to help those developers there. With the TIF, and we've been giving TIF at the South Lawrence like crazy, but that's okay. And I just want to put it out there. And I'm still waiting for the overlay to be done. And they asked you a question the other day or 2 days ago, because I have conversation, and you said you were waiting for the mayor. And I was there with you when the mayor said, they go ahead and try to get the overlay so they can get a TIF. But we can develop the South. You can get all the housing on the South. That's okay. And we're going to still get in the negative money from drug addicts, and we're not going to develop the Arlington neighborhood because it's not convenience for a lot of people, and we know that. With that said, here we go. Now we're against the wall with this proposal, right? For my colleagues, the vote at that meeting that they had was 4 against 1, right? And you know why that gentleman voted no on it? Because he asked me to ask the same question. And colleague Fidelina Santiago has a concern, but we also have a concern. Let's say that we pass all this and all this construction go through. How we thought about the underground water and sewer, why the city is getting overflowing, while we convert all this and 4,000 more units, but are overflowing underneath, and the water sewer is still the same way that it's been for all the years that this city has been built. Do we have any improvement of the underground? That way, let's put it in your district, Grafton Street doesn't get flooded. 10 Grafton Street, every time a little rain is, that first floor get flooded. And we going to continue growing. And again, I'm not going to fight for the Arlington neighborhood to be growing anymore, because you can have all the housing and all the flooding on your city, on your side. But McCarthy, can we change the idea of pinpointing us against the wall? Because this been going on for the longest. If I'm waiting for an overlay for 2 years, this has been around longer than 2 years. Or it just come up 2 days ago, and now we need to vote on it and go with it, because we're gonna lose money. And remember, a couple of years ago, I told you that Lawrence was the prostitute of the state. Everything we do, I said it, and it's somewhere there. Everything we do is because they're gonna give us money. Everything we do is because they're gonna give us money, but it's the money worth it for improving the living of our city. I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I just need to say those things. And also, I hope in the next presentation, we have a plan of, if we eventually develop all this, we have a plan to do something on the ground, so that way 10 Grafton Street and the people that live there doesn't get flooded, because it's gonna be, I mean, flushing 4,000 toilets again, it's not gonna be at the same time, but people are gonna flush it. People are gonna use the water. So our on-the-ground system of sewer, I never seen anybody come here and talks about that. We're gonna build 400,000 houses, but we're gonna go on the ground and we're gonna upgrade that system of the water and sewer there. It's not gonna be floating anymore. Nobody talks about that. We talk about what are we losing? What are we losing? $6 million. But every time there's a flood in the city, it's more than $6 million down the drain, basically, for our people. They don't get it back, never ever. Again, and I'm not against it. I just want some answers. This gentleman, they voted no because he asked a question. He said, what are we going to do with the water and sewer? Are we going to improve it if we approve that? And nobody answered him that. So he asked me to ask that question. And also, the overlay for the Arlington neighborhood, it's okay. We can do this one now, and we can wait 4 more years to get the Arlington neighborhood. And we can get the negative money out of there. Hopefully the mayor is listening, and he can see that. The people from the fruteria are putting their own money. Right? Because nothing has been done. $5.5 million to develop that area. Their own money. And they're not looking for a theft. They're not looking for anything. You know what they're looking to do? To improve that area. And we're waiting on an overlay for 2 years. But you got an overlay. You're going to get an overlay by January.
Do I have a choice?
Huh?
Do I have a choice?
No, you don't.
I don't have a choice.
You don't.
All right.
But it's okay. So I'm not against it. I just want to put that out there for the record. And everything that is, and again, we're not going to develop the Arlington neighborhood for 20 more years because it's a common money for the city, negative money. And it's still stuck. And you know that. You can look at me because it's still stuck. You haven't done anything to try to get that overlay going. And we were waiting for it for 2 years. And then one day that you needed a vote, when the Danielito issue happens, then you come up to me and say the mayor needs to sign on it 2 years after. We were talking on it. But that's okay. I'm not against this issue. I just want you to know that every time that you bring an issue this way or a proposal this way, it's a time limited, it's sensitive time, and everything on that area, even though he doesn't like it, and I would want it for my district, and my district is never going to happen because it's not in your interest. It's not in the development interest.
Let me have a chance to respond. Go ahead.
The law only requires the creation of a zoning district, not the construction of actual units, 1. 2, I don't disagree with you on the overlay in the Arlington district. I was just made aware of that, a lot of those issues, especially when you were talking about the fruteria recently, and it was thanks to you, Councilor from that district. One of the things that we talked about, that they were applying for a TIF, they never applied for a TIF. A different person was trying to apply for a TIF. So one of the things, and remember, staffing in this department has been to a bare minimum, which is probably one of the worst things that we can have in the Office of Planning and Development is short staff when we have so many major projects in the city. Councilor De Rosario, I'm going to promise you one thing. It's not going to take 4 years to get an overlay district in the Arlington district. So as I'm here, working with my team, we're going to make sure that there is an overlay in your district. As hard as we've been trying to work to make sure we get every major project across the line, one of the worst things we could do is lose this at the state level, because then, Councilor De Rosario, I will guarantee you that a lot of the funding for a lot of things we'll start losing. And
How many? Let me finish. I'll come back to you.
So, and I'm grateful that you're on board with this, but we got to start looking what is the future looks like for the city of Lawrence. As a matter of fact, when this came before me, and we looked at it with MVPC, when Ian came to the office, I said, I need a plan B because we need to expand. But I need to get this past the threshold, which is December 1st. I found that Mr. McCarthy had said we were at meeting with the Secretary Augustus at Housing and Livable Communities, when we realized that our deadline was not December 25th, 2025. Our deadline was December 25th, 2024. So we got right on the process of getting this here. So I apologize for the lateness of this coming before you. It's not done intentionally by our department, but we're here now to get this to where we need to be to make sure that we're not losing valuable resources and valuable time, or worse, getting sued by the state, as other communities are doing, or losing funding. So over there in your district, we'll be on top of my priority.
And
Go ahead, Councilor Douglas. I just want, you're going to get the floor here in like 3 seconds, but you made a great point on your district in Arlington. I think they got it. This is about this project here, so just, if you can, go ahead.
go with that.
Okay.
I've been sitting here for 4 years with the same situation, same issues. We got to approve this, we have a deadline, this has got to rush. 4 years. None of those rushes has been for my district. None of them. All of them for the same area. Same area. And same area. And I'm going to say the name. He said something at the beginning just to make me happy. And then at the end, he said something to make me happy, saying that they're rushing to get money somewhere up in the Arlington neighborhood. And that gentleman across the bridge is not looking to build, but he could make those 420 units into 2,000 units if he wants to. And he's allowed to. And that's why the introduction begins, right? It begins with that introduction. And again, I'm not against it at all. I just believe that we should develop evenly. And we should believe in the progress of the city evenly. Evenly. And it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. And you telling me, you promised me, it's not going to happen. You know why? Because after this overlay, something else is going to come up by there. And we got to rush into that one. But again, once again, I'm with you guys with this. I'm not against it at all.
And hey, once again, and I think my record has spoken for itself. When I say I'm going to do something, I make sure it gets done. Thank you for the support, Counselor.
And thank you so much. So what I think it may be important, and this was lost, and it doesn't cut at all to the counselor's point.
He has a better point.
He's got a point that I'm not going to argue. He doesn't. I'm not going to argue that. What I'm going to suggest, though, in this particular scenario, this was a proposal that was, frankly, developed by my good friend, who was the former governor of Massachusetts, who decided to put the MBTA Communities Act as part of the process that he wanted to go forward. Love the man an awful lot, didn't agree with this particular maneuver because of the impacts it would have on our city. Tonight I'm not going to rehash all the arguments as to why I think that we have unsmart growth in our city, and this is going to lead to that. But now under the current administration, with the current Attorney General's office, things are now, I think part of this, and I think you can rightfully stand by this, they have decided to put the heat on now. Communities were purposely delaying so that they wouldn't have to have this deal to see how things would happen in court and see what other dominoes would fall. So while I may agree with my colleague's underlying point, which is why are we always waiting to vote until the last minute, which happens far more than it should, and he's 100% correct in my estimation, 100% correct. In this particular situation, I don't think that it was because of this office and because of this administration that we were delayed. The delays were taking place across the board for many communities. And you started your discussion tonight with the town of Milton, with their court case that was heard today, today. We don't have a ruling on that court case. Yes, we don't know what's going on. That court case may overturn, I'm not saying that it will, it could, overturn the requirement that Lawrence and all the other communities that have an MBTA structure in it, a train station that goes through it. We have one. If we didn't have this train station, the McGovern train station, we wouldn't have this requirement. But because, am I right?
No.
That's the reason why we have
We
it.
would have until 2025, because Methuen is an adjunction to the McGovern train station. So they have until 2025 to put their MTA community into effect.
But the reality is that the condition is that there is a MBTA-related
Correct.
element. We are direct. It's right in our area, and it's right there. It's not in the Arlington neighborhood. It's not in near the hospital. It's there. Trust me, I would rather, for this purpose, that it not be there, because my neighbors are telling me, we have enough. We have enough. We don't want this. That's what I'm hearing. We have packed schools, we have too many cars on the road, we have apartments all over the place, things are growing, we just don't have the capacity. And this is forcing our hand. So I would love to see this somewhere else, but that's not the cards that are dealt. These are the cards that we're dealing with.
Correct. So, and once again, it's the creation of a zoning district.
Correct.
Not the actual construction of units.
I understand, and I'm sorry, I mean, one last point is this, and I'm glad you mentioned this because it's important for us to know. The current owner of the properties has, apparently, according to your assessment, has no interest in expanding, at least the housing over there. That's refreshing and makes me feel a little bit better, but one thing I do know is that things and times change. This law is going to last longer than potentially that owner may be there. I don't know how long he's going to be there, but there could be a sale. Things can switch. I see it happening, and that could happen here. So the next owner may say, you know something, I have the ability to put 4,500 new places. I'm going to put 40, I'm going to do it. And then by right, they're going to have a chance to do that, and then we don't have any recourse. That's my concern. Not so much in the current owner, which I feel good about. It's the next owner potentially that comes in and decides they're going to go ahead and do it. That's my concern. I'm going to stop talking there. We can do one more round of questions or comments if we want to. If not, we can entertain a motion. This is also before the Housing Committee, but we should have a motion at some point.
And
Pardon me?
just
Yeah.
for those who won't be attending the housing committee, I suggest my request would be to either listen to the housing committee meeting on Thursday, and you get a better presentation than what we could put together here. Huh?
I am in the housing committee.
Oh,
See, half of us are going to hear it again. Sorry, Councilor Rosario.
I would like to use.
Go ahead.
Motion to send to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Motion made and properly second. Discussion on the motion. See no discussion. I'll ask Pat, Ms. Waters, to please call the roll.
Council Del Rosario,
Yes.
Chair Plant,
No?
Chair Santiago,
Yes.
is
Vice Chair Reyes?
Yes.
Reyes? Chair Reyes,
She said yes.
you said no?
She said yes. Yes.
Yes.
She said yes, yeah. The motion is sent up to the full council with a favorable recommendation by a 3-to-1 vote.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You have one more item?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So councilors, if there's no objection, this is the next item, which is 42924. There's no objection. We're going to take this document, which is new ordinance in compliance with MGL, Chapter 40A, Section 3A, allowing multifamily as a right. I'm sorry, let me reverse that. This is 42824, accept the amended recordable easement and layout alteration plan for Amesbury and Lawrence Street.
Good evening,
Sorry.
councilors.
I called an audible. We're back.
If you do recall, approximately two and a half months ago, I was before this committee with a similar set of plans for the layout of the existing street as we know it as Amesbury Lawrence and it's adjoining streets. This is all part of a redevelopment project. We're converting Amesbury Street from a one-way to a two-way street. This is to improve the traffic flow on the north part of the city, and primarily to ease up on the traffic on Lawrence Street in the downtown area around City Hall. So, as you all know, currently, when you cross the Central Bridge, you'll come to a point where you can't drive straight any further. You must take a left or a right to go to Hampshire Street or to Lawrence Street to still proceed north. In the next year, we're going to be converting this. This is currently going forward. The plan that is before you is actually also at housing, and there's 30 other documents at housing for the easements that are in this. So the plan that's before you is the alterations of the street by the way of the easements for construction on the new layout of Amesbury Street. So, and I apologize, I thought these documents had been sent to you 2 weeks ago. I'm going to find out why you didn't receive these until...
Okay. All right, so we have plans in front of us. And this is essentially we need to accept these changes is what you're asking the
Right.
committee and the full council to eventually do.
Yes, and to accept these,
All of these plans.
yes, and I will be recording those at the Registry of Deeds, and that will go in prior to the beginning of the construction. Mass DOT will be constructing the street.
Is one of these deal with the Buckley garage? Is that in any of these at all, that street?
It does.
Which which page is that?
The one with common street on it. It is panel number, my glasses aren't very good. It's sheet 4 of 9.
Got it. Okay. And the idea here is all right, so just one more time, I'm sorry, you probably said it just one more time because I was looking through the stuff real quick. The purpose for all of these changes is what again?
It's
Just
to
dumb it down.
identify and recognize the construction easements that are gonna go in. Some of these are gonna be permanent easements, many of them are just temporary easements, but they're gonna affect the properties along this street. And there's individual documents that are all at housing for each one of these. So if you wanna take a look for an example, let's look at panel 4 where the Buckley garage is. The Buckley garage is in the lower right-hand corner of that intersection. You can see a line that runs along the interior, and that is, and it says parcel E4, the City of Lawrence, Department of Public Works. That's a permanent easement where we're gonna be enlarging the sidewalk along that way.
Okay, so the purpose of all of these changes is to go ahead and to make the changes that are on here, in this example, an increase of the sidewalk.
Yes.
And you couldn't do this now because of the current plans, and this required that we go ahead and make some alterations on all these panels. 12 of them.
Part of the reasoning for doing this is so that when we record the easements,
Yeah.
our written documents,
Yeah.
it'll reference this plan, so that you go to look at it. Again, this plan is also at housing. It would probably be easier for me to explain if the easements were in front of you as well as the plan. So every one of there's 30 documents. Every one of those documents identifies to one of these parcels identified in the plan. So this plan is a reference. It'll get recorded at the same time as the easements.
Okay. Back to the Buckley, just because that's kind of like, the Buckley went to the McGovern to make one more point from my colleague, Mr. Del Rosario, and more things are moving over to the south, including the McGovern. So what has happened? Is this going to at all deal with the one-way configuration? Is this a configuration issue, or is this strictly just easements and then just changing the footprint or of the various sidewalks versus streets, those kinds of things?
No, the primary reason for doing this is if, like, Like the example, a good example is that there's a section of roadway between Haverhill Street and Common Street. And it is a varying number of lines. At some points, there's 2 lanes. At some points, there's 4 lanes. And some places, it goes to 3 lanes. And the cars jockey in and out in a one-way. When this is done, it's just gonna be 2 lanes of traffic, one going north, one going south. And the car's gonna pass regularly. And it's gonna be all controlled by lights and by a rotary at the end of this project.
One going north and one going south, but that would require a city council vote
Correct.
for that, and that hasn't happened yet. And there's no proposal for that, because that would probably come here
Yeah.
to this committee. We haven't seen that yet.
I think it was approved years ago, before my time,
To make a two-way street?
to make it a 2-way street.
It was approved, and we didn't do it? How does that make sense?
So Felix Garcia was a city engineer, was handling this before myself.
Okay. You can understand why that's
And
confusing.
I remember having the public hearings on this that I attended.
So we approved it, but
That
yet
was
we
like
didn't,
3 or 4 years ago.
but we didn't implement it?
Yeah, so this,
That doesn't
so
seem right.
this project's on the transportation improvement plan. So this was probably designed and approved 7 years ago, because that's how long the tip is. It's a 7-year cycle. So this has been on the state plans for doing this for 7 years. And it's a 2024. So like, we just put Arlington Street, we're gonna redo Arlington Street from Broadway to Lawrence Street. That just went on last year at 25%. And that probably won't get through the cycle for another 3 years. So that's how these projects work.
Slow, and then no one implements it, sounds like, to me. Slow and no implementation. I'll be quiet, I talked an awful lot the last one. Any councils have any comments or questions regarding this? All right, there's a proposal before us. How am I wording this? How's the motion, how should the motion be worded? To accept the improvements that are included
To
in,
accept the layout plans as prepared.
accept the layout plans, and how many of these panels do we have? 9? 9? 9. The 9 layout plans that are before us. I'm looking for a motion to send to the full council with whatever recommendation you want to give to send this up for the 9 layout plans. Is there a motion?
Motion to send to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
The favorable recommendation for the 9 plans. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the vice chair in the nick of time. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I was just practicing. Pat, please call the roll. Now I know how Selena Reyes is going to vote. Go ahead.
Council Reyes? No response.
Councilor Reyes, what's your vote?
Yes.
Council Delgado?
Yes.
Council Santiago?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Chair LaPlante?
Very good. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, councilors.
You're welcome. Because in other words, you'll be giving the presentation of this at the full council meeting, right? You got this all clear? You ready to go? Good, because I don't. Good. No, I have enough. I have enough to be there dangerous. Okay. I know, and we still didn't happen. Okay, so is there anybody else here? You're good? All right, we're gonna go to the top of the page, I guess. Oh, and the first one is gonna be tabled. So, the first document is 49324. That's the creation of a city council policy regarding dedications and namings. Hold on. I've been asked, well, I've been asked, but I've been told.
What is that?
That's the first item. 493? Here it is. 49324. Council President Rodriguez has asked the table item 49324.
Motion to table.
Motion made by Council
Second.
Santiago, seconded by Council Del Rosario. All in favor, Pat Waters, please call the roll. The table.
I'm sorry, I was speaking with
So just call, this is 49324, there's a motion to table. Need a roll call vote. See ya.
I vote yes.
You gonna call the roll? Okay, Councilor Reyes voted yes. She said yes.
You said yes.
Yeah.
Council Del Rosario,
Yes.
Chair LaPlante,
Yes.
Council Santiago.
Yes.
Motion to table. Next document is 49424, no parking at 160 Garden Street. Looking for a, let me see this, no parking. So it's a handicap parking if you look at the letter. I think. There was many requests, no parking. Not handicap, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm confused. I'll be very frank with you, counselors. I'll read this letter. We are submitting a request for a quote, no parking sign in front of our residence at, Nicanor Pinellas. Although he is not an owner of a vehicle, the entrance to his home prohibits family and/or medical transportation to allow him access in and out of the residence. I have attached his handicap sign for proof. Please contact me at a number if you have any further questions. I don't see the confusion. I don't know if they're looking for a handicap parking or they're just looking for a regular no parking sign, which means that even the medical transportation, technically, unless it's an emergency, could not park there, technically. Anybody have any ideas? No matter which way it goes, it's got to go to the police department. I guess we can have them sort it out. Motion to send to the police department by Councilor Del Rosario, that's a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Santiago.
Second.
Thank you. Pat Waters, please call the roll to send this to the police department for their review.
Council Reyes. Council Reyes,
Councilor Reyes?
Yes.
okay. Council Del Rosario,
Yes.
Chair LaPlante.
Yes.
Council Santiago.
Yes.
Thank you.
Pat, you might want to put the mic, if you don't know a lot of space here, but if you put it closer, maybe Councilor Vice Chair Reyes could hear you better if you put the microphone on and closer to you. Maybe. I think that's the issue. Okay. The next one is definitely handicap parking. This is for 514 Haverhill Street. Looking for motion to send this to the police department for their review.
Summer.
Motion made by Councilor Santiago. Is there a second by Councilor Del Rosario? Discussion? See no discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm such in the habit. Great job. Pat, will you please call the roll? Sorry. I'll get used to it.
Councilor Reyes?
Yes.
Thank you, Councilor Santiago.
Yes.
Chair LaPlante?
Yes?
Del Rosario?
Yes.
Motion carries to send it to the police department. The next one that I put on, 496-24. This is a speed limit pilot project act. The details are in your packet. I guess I'll give the presentation. So, the speed limit is an issue throughout the city, of course. There is no I don't think, a cookie cutter approach to it. There was a proposal that's been tabled for the entire city that hasn't moved in 7 years. But the people in my district have been asking for it, and I thought that it would be, if you all know where I live in the Colonial Heights area, it's more of a controlled, closed area, there's an opportunity there to actually see if something were to work, if we were to reduce the speed limit. I'm not blind to know that without enforcement, nothing is going to work. We need the enforcement mechanism. However, I wanted to have a pilot project there, see how that worked. We could report back to this council how that worked, what went right, what went wrong, what kind of streets were problematic or advantageous. And then the idea I had was, I mean, I can't deal with anybody else's district. I can only deal with mine. But if somebody, another district councilor thought this could work in their area after they saw what happened in mine and learned from that, then maybe they could go ahead and do a proposal for another area of the city, or multiple areas if they felt that strongly about it. So that was the idea behind the speed limit pilot project. It lists in the resolution that you have, I've listed all the streets. I will tell you, though, that the streets that are not impacted because they are the one state highway, but even in that, it may say highway may stop, is 114 Winthrop Ave. So not the section that is a state highway, because we don't regulate the state highway, but I also don't want Winthrop Ave to be a part of that, nor do I want South Union Street. I want those two streets to remain at 30, but it's everything within that neighborhood go down to 25. So that's the proposal. That's here. My recommendation would be to send this proposal for the police department to get their review of the proposal, see if it makes sense for the police department, and then we can get some sort of report back from them. That would be my recommendation.
Through you, Chair.
Yep, Councilor Del Rosario.
Even though I'm not against it, but I believe the Colonial High, even though it's affect the whole city, why don't we try to do a pilot project where they're really speeding out there?
Say it again, I missed that.
Where they're really speeding out there.
Okay.
I mean, you have the registered motor vehicle giving the test on the back. People actually do not speed as much as other streets in the north side when it comes to Colonial High. Like you said, Colonial High is a little compacted, closed area. I mean, the speeding, I don't think it's not affecting your area, but it's not as bad as other areas. If you want to try it, if you want to do a pilot project, I believe that we should do a pilot project on those areas where they actually, speed is noticeable on an everyday basis. And it should be more, I mean, even if it's on the south, it should be more towards the bridge or it's across the bridge on the north side where most of the speeding is happening. Not against the pilot project, but I believe that, I mean, if we're going to try something, we should try it where it's actually affecting the area to see if it really works. I don't know how much speeding is happening in the district, but people actually respect that area more than any other area. And if we want to implement a pilot project to see if it's working, we should put it in the area that is actually 100% affected by the speeding all the time. That's the only issue. I mean, I like the plan, but I think we should be more realistic and put it where the actual problem is. I don't. This is my opinion, and I don't think Colonial High is as bad as let's say Prosper Street. That area, Prosper Street by the hospital. Yeah, it's not as bad. It's not as bad as Arlington Street, and also in those areas there's schools nearby that we need to try to control. If you're going to do a pilot project, why not do it there to see what the impacts bring and see if we can actually bring down the speed on one side. But at the end of the day, what this body would like to do.
Okay,
that's my point.
Anybody else wish to speak on this matter? Councilman Santiago. go ahead.
Yes, I think that is not fair, because why just for one district? The other night we was talking about the city, and now you are agree with your district, and I would like if we have to do the speed resolution. I would like to put in my district because it is one of the most affected right now. Like he said, the Prosper Street, High Street, Ferry Street. Yeah.
So what? Okay, let me do this. I just didn't feel very comfortable going to other people's districts and saying this is going to be there. I didn't feel that comfortable. But if there's a desire for other people in other districts, I would welcome an amendment if you find, what I wouldn't want is the entire area. So I would narrow some streets down so you can see how they are in your district and in your district, if that's what you want. And then we could expand this a little bit. I just didn't feel comfortable going ahead.
No, and that's respectful, but I mean, but we gotta be more realistic. People go to your district to learn how to drive. You know why? Because there's people drive like they should drive back there in Colonia Heights. There's people that take classes to learn how to drive right behind there. So, I mean, I'm not saying New Area is not affected, but I believe if we're gonna implement a pilot, a pilot project, we should put it in an area regardless what the district that's really affecting the area to see how effective this pilot program is. I mean, you might do it in your district and you might don't get anybody. So what will be the recommendation when nobody's speeding in that area? You know, what is the recommendation after you do the pilot program and nothing happened in Colonia Heights? What will be the recommendation coming back? That it works in your district, but you didn't get a ticket for speeding. So we need to put it in places where it's more active as traffic goes up and down on those areas. Like I said, I mean, I put Prospect Street as an example, but there's more streets. I mean, East Hayward Street, people fly. Park Street, people flying. Broadway, people flying. I mean, but if you locked it inside Colonia High, how effective that's going to be when I can tell you that I drive through your district.
Oh, that's you.
Yeah, I drive through your district and there's no issues. When I used to be a bus driver for the MIVA company, I used to have that route, and we never had issues with traffic back there. So, but again, it's what this body needs to do. I mean, you said you accept a friendly amendment. I mean, we could amend it, but I mean,
Sure.
we just need to ID. We just even need to bring the police and ID what the most area that is affected when it comes to speeding. And I know for a fact that they're not going to say the Colonia Heights area is one of them more affected when it comes to speeding.
Okay, so what we do this, I'm not sure, I mean, I appreciate the critique. I'm paid the big bucks to represent my district. I don't micromanage District C and say that's not true in your district, this is where it's true, and I understand.
It's a 6 mile, whatever affect you, it will affect me. It's a 6 mile radius city.
I'll be quiet.
I mean, where's the R&B at? If I need to go to the R&B, where do I need to go? I need to go to your district. So I'm not micromanage your district. I'm not micromanage your district. That was the wrong word we used. I mean, you don't need to look for anything coming down this way. I mean, you don't even go to Lawrence High School. You're not going to go to Arlington School. You're not going to check that area. You're going to check from when you get out of your house to you get out to South Union, and that's why you pay the big bucks to do. But at the end of the day, it's only one city,
Okay.
and a lot of people doesn't understand that. Okay. It's one city. If you prevent traffic on the north side and you make it better on the north side, your traffic will be even better on the south side.
Okay, Councilor Reyes, you wish to say something? Vice Chair?
My colleague Del Rosario covered what I want to say. When we prevent from the north, we also prevent to the south. But I think we can, when we implement a pilot program, we need to include the whole city because we had the same issue with the whole city. I received a lot of phone calls from District E, but I received it from another district too because speeding is not one issue for one district, it's for the whole city. We need to include the whole city in any kind of pilot program.
Okay. Excellent. All right, so loud and clear.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Loud and clear. So I like working with people, not against people. So if there is, I'll be looking for a motion to table this. If this committee wishes to go ahead and members wish to provide some streets, however they decide to do it, it's really up to your individual councilors. I embrace that. I welcome it. I will support it. I'm not going to say this is a great street. That's a great street. If you want that street, God bless you, we'll support you. So why don't can we give ourselves to the next ordinance committee meeting, and maybe we can table this now and then come back, and then we can say, here are the streets in my area that I'd like to see how that's working. Can we do that?
So we can put it right now, we can include Everett Street and South Lawrence.
You want to do every street in St. Lawrence? That's not really a project. That's more of a comprehensive project. So, Council Vice Chair, if you have, I mean, you are an at-large counselor, so, I mean, you can go anywhere you want. Certainly, you can
I
pick.
know.
Yeah, as you know, you can pick whatever streets you want. So,
Yes.
so why don't we do this as an action item? Can everybody agree that we can come back and talk about additional streets when we come back in a couple of weeks? Head nod,
I
okay?
love the idea.
Okay, super. So I'm looking for a motion to table, and we'll talk about it again in 2 weeks.
Sure. Motion to table.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Del
Second.
Rosario, seconded by Councilor Santiago. I'm going to ask Pat to please call the roll.
Councilor,
Councilor Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Del Rosario,
Yes.
Chair LaPlante,
Yes?
Councilor Santiago.
Yes.
And the motion passes, and it's tabled, and we will revisit this issue in 2 weeks, or whenever the next committee meeting is. So yeah, we'll just do that way. Okay, super, thank you. Next item. Oh, Park Naming Act, another one. This is me. This is a resolution that deals with naming of parks. I'm just going to read what the resolution says. It's in your packet. This is whereas the city of Lawrence has approximately 30 parks within the city limits, most of which have been dedicated to the memory of special individuals with a direct connection to the city. And whereas a few remaining parks that have not been named after individuals, and whereas there will continue to be special individuals with Lawrence connections who the city council determines merits a park naming, and therefore the Lawrence City Council limits the naming of a park to no more than one park per each 2-year council session, in order to allow future city councils the opportunity to honor an individual or individuals that the current park names, and that current park names must not be removed or altered. So I guess that's what the resolution says in simple terms. The idea here is that we have a few parks left that don't have names. They're like West Street that don't have a name after somebody. So there's a few that are left. There's still some streets that don't have necessarily a name of an individual, right? But it has a location. Those may or may not at some point get a name. But what I want to do is I look at this thing as a big picture. We're only, as my old colleague Joe Quarteroni used to say, we're only passing through. All of us are here for a short amount of time. I want to be able to make sure that future city councils also have the same ability to do a park naming that we have now. And so if we are more measured in which parks we name, I have one per council term. That way, eventually there'll be other opportunities for future councils to have that park naming ability. So I kind of wish that councils before us did that. They didn't. They did a lot of parks, and we've got park names now that some counselors, we don't, some of us, I don't know all the stories yet myself, but there's stories that are there. We don't know all the stories. So that's what this proposal is. It does two things. One park naming, if we don't have to do, but one per session. And two, we don't duplicate a park name. So if somebody already has something named after them, we don't do a second naming or any additional namings. If it's a square, if it's a corner, if it's a park bench, once you get a name, that's it. So we can.
Campanon Ardilla.
Say it again? So that's the.
Campanon Park have two names, Ardilla Park.
Yeah, the Campanon's a good one because it just has one. No one else has Campanon Square. It's just one. That's a good example.
Yeah.
So that's the resolution. That's the proposal. It would be an ordinance change. That's what this would be. Questions? I'd like to move this up to the full council with a favorable recommendation to order a public hearing ultimately.
I want to make a motion to send to full council for favorable recommendation.
There's a motion to send this
Second.
up. Motion has been properly made by Councilor Santiago, seconded by Councilor Reyes. Discussion?
Discussion.
Counselor Del Rosario.
If there's a councilor like you that's gonna be in the city council for 18 years, there's only 4 parks on his district, and people usually look to the city councilor to try to make the changes, what will happen then? Changes or naming the park. Let's say this councilor has been here, like you said, you've been here, like I said, you've been here for 18 years. Now we do this resolution. And there's another councilor that decided to stay as a city councilor for 18 years with 4 parks, with no names or 2 names on his district, and people are looking up for him to change the name. What's gonna happen?
Under this proposal, regardless of how many years I'm here, it doesn't really make a difference, but under this proposal would, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll say it again. This proposal is to limit ourselves to 1. I don't know all the park names necessarily. There's not plenty, there's a few that are left. But what my fear is that if this year we decide that we're gonna finish naming all the parks, we're gonna finish that before the end of this 2-year cycle, that leaves nothing for any other city councils to do. To me, that doesn't seem fair. So the answer to your question, I think, is we would have 1. There's 9 people. If your biggest, in this scenario, if it's all going in one district councilor's area, that means 6 people or 5 people have voted for that. And I don't think that's going to happen.
Discussion.
He's got the floor right now. I'm not sure if he has any follow-ups or anything.
No, okay.
Okay, Councilor Santiago.
According with the chair said, to preserve 1 name for the park, I think it's a good idea because we have to preserve the history. If we show our children when they're coming, we have to show what happened before. They have to know the history. When the people know the history, can prevent something coming, and they can be strong. That's my understanding.
History is
Councilor
written.
Rosario.
History is written on an everyday basis. Every day we're creating history. Today you're creating history. Tomorrow you're going to create history. We have history there for long. But the point is that, I'm not against it, to be honest, but people look up to the city councilors for the ideas of changing, removing, limiting whoever is running and earning the city or the people's vote. I think it's also limiting the city or the peoples to sometimes bring their suggestions to the councilor. That's how I see it. You also limiting the people that come to that councilor that is like you, like been there 18 years. I'm gonna go to, but I can't do it anymore. Let me ask my colleague. And lately, we've been seeing that some colleagues here say, well, that's not my district. They don't believe Lawrence is a city as a whole. Some councilors believe that Lawrence is just a little piece of district. So, and some councilors sit here and they don't want to do anything on your district because they don't belong there, but I'm assuming the Lawrence is only one city. And let's say that councilor stay there for longest, and then one constituents or 2 constituents decided this park should be named a name of an ex-councilor, and it comes to that councilor and say, well, I already named one park, I can't do anything else. And the other councilors also want to get involved because they part of one district. So that's the only concern I have about this resolution.
Okay, so I think there's a motion that's been made. Is there any further discussion? It was made and properly second. Any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, I'll ask Pat, please call the roll. This is the Senate up to the full council. This is an ordinance to order a public hearing. Roll call.
Councilor Reyes?
Yes.
All right, Councilor Del Rosario?
Abstain.
Chair LaPlante?
Yes.
Yes.
3 with 1 abstention. This is going to the full council with a favorable recommendation to order a public hearing. All right, I'm on a roll. I got one more document, 498. This is a annual department reporting requirement is the title. I'll read the resolution. It's in your packet. Receiving regular reports from city departments are an important tool to monitor and better understand city government operations. Currently, reports are required quarterly. These reports understandably take time to draft and take time away from staff to conduct their core mission. And the council traditionally reviews city operations during their annual budget process. So therefore, the city council amends the quarterly requirement to an annual requirement. The reports will be issued to the city council when the mayor offers the yearly city budget. The scope of the reports will be from April 1st to March 31st, and city councils continue to have the authority to request information from the departments as they see fit without limitation. So councilors, all that is in a nutshell is very simple. When I was here the other night, sitting over there, and we had remember that vote that we took, and I made some comments, and then the vice chair said, well, why don't you just put that on the agenda? So I said, oh, okay, I can do that. So I did. So the idea here, and the reason why I voted the way I did that evening, was based on the experience that I have here. The time that I see that councils really start focusing in on the entire city operations as at budget time, when the numbers come out and the questions are asked, that's the time. I know that the requirement right now is for them to do quarterly reports. I don't see the advantage. I'm not casting aspersions on any city councilors now or in the past, but my observations have been that I see that the most impact is once a year. So if the impact is once a year, I don't see why we are requiring the departments to do things quarterly, but rather we should have them at the time that we're really focused on it, which is annually. The blessing of the whole thing is it doesn't stop us. If there is an issue that we have with any department at any time, we still can ask for that information. We can still be very precise. I want the number of parking tickets that have been issued, or an inspectional services thing, or whatever it is that we're looking for. We can certainly make every effort to make that request. This is and if a department wishes to give us a quarterly document, it's up to them. I'm not going to stop them. But this idea here is to make it the requirement that they do it, and they do a good job of it annually. So that's the purpose. Questions? So this is an ordinance change. If the committee approves, I would ask for a motion to send this up to the full council with a favorable recommendation to order a public hearing.
So move.
Motion made by Council Del Rosario, seconded by Councilor Santiago. Discussion. See no discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. All right, I'm done with my stuff. So for this evening. We're going to continue.
Roll call?
Oh, sorry. Roll call. That's why the vice chair is here. Please, Pat, roll call. I miss you, Council Vice Chair. I need you here. Go ahead.
All right.
Council Reyes,
Council Vice Chair, how are you voting on this?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Chair LaPlante?
Yes.
Yes.
That passes. That, I think, Council, am I missing anything? I think that's it tonight. I don't see, let me just check our front page here real quick. We do have minutes. Pat, you didn't tell me about the minutes. We have minutes, right? Okay, so we have a copy of the minutes in the front of your binder. Did we approve these already, Pat? It says accepted on. Oh, ignore that? Okay. Gotcha. So I'm looking for a motion to accept the minutes from September 24th. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Del Rosario, seconded by Councilor Santiago. Discussion? See no discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Aye.
I'm sorry, roll call vote.
Councilor Reyes?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Del Rosario?
Yes.
Chair LaPlante?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Who's got the favorite motion for the evening?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Del Rosario, seconded by Councilor Santiago. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call, I can't call the question. Please, call the roll.
Councilor Reyes?
Yes.
Rio?
Yes.
LaPlante?
Yes.
Councilor Santiago?
Yes.
Motion carries. No hard feelings, brother. I'm
Have
fighting
a
for
good
your
night.
district. I'm fighting for your district. I want to see more stuff there. More housing. I'm trying to get more housing there.